You are tuned to the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen,
Greetings to you.
wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
the station for you is
OTR.
As the Old Tube Radio jingle singers remind us, the place to be on Saturday night is right here, 27085 in Central California and everywhere else. If you're at oldtuberadio.net, perhaps joining us on Google, YouTube, we'll be talking with and looking for some of those classic tube radios that were around the frequencies from 1958 to 1977 and will be around tonight here, April 14th, 2018. OTR listening.
Break OTR.
Break OTR. Go ahead, please.
65, check it in.
SWL 65. Sounding good here on the Old Tube Radio Network tonight. Eric, I will get you officially checked in, the X in the square, and thanks for listening.
Thank you. Just stepped out a little late and passed me by real quick, and I'm here. Thanks again.
Sounding good. We are looking for some of those elusive glow-in-the-dark radios.
45. 25.
And we might have a few. 25 step up into the green room. There's pretzels and lemonade and all sorts of good stuff. We'll be right with you. Let's head up to North Fork. I believe I heard Paul at the microphonium of something that was glowing in the dark. Hello, 45, over.
Yeah, okay, well, this is my general radio telephone, Master Control, MC2.
General radio telephone, a name we've come to expect for good tube radios and nice audio, and you're talking that you've got the Master Control MC2. That's got to be something early. Let me see if I've got a photo in the archives. And I do, maybe of that actual radio. We'll put that up on the screen, and we'll go back to you for a transmission on what looks like a pretty cool-looking radio tonight. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the radio. That's what I'm talking on. I'm not using the microphone. It didn't show on the deal anyway, but I'm not using the microphone that come with it. I'm using the Turner Plus 3 on this thing. I'd like to switch the mic over to the original microphone if you could wait a minute. I'll see what it sounds like.
All right, we'll give you a chance to switch over to the microphone. What I'm hearing now sounds good. A lot of low tones. Decent audio, a lot of low tones. The Master Control MC2 is the radio. Plus 3 was the microphone. We're going to try something new. OTR listening. And hopefully that microphone works well enough to key up the radio. Which it just did, a bit of a hum, so maybe there's an issue. We are listening. The plus 3 does work. I don't think that's electronic switching, so I'm going to assume that you can hear me with the microphonium unplugged. But OTR standing by. Keying the radio, but there is an AC hum, so perhaps there is a wire that was once good and perhaps is not. 1959, the year of manufacture, so this is one of the first of the general radio telephones, the MC Master Control series, the MC2. Try it again, Paul. We are listening for your transmission.
Yeah, sorry about that. I guess the original microphone's not working at all now.
It occasionally, I heard the radio key up twice, but when it did, there was a loud, or let's say a very present AC note and no audio from you. So there appears to be a bad connection in River City.
Okay, well, it used to work, so I bought it anyway, the old mic. I guess it's giving up. It might just have a broken wire or something in it. Anyway, this Master Control 2 was the second radio, well, the second Master Controls that your radio cell phone sold. I have the MC1, but it's not functioning. I wish it was. They look a little different. They've changed it quite a bit. I think they came out in 1959, and you know, your radio telephone, they probably manufactured this MC1 and the MC2 at the same time. I don't think they might have brought up the series too. I don't know. Back to you.
I think you're correct on that. The 1 and 2, 1959, the year of first manufacture for this. It's only a 7-tube radio. Has the same circuit as the MC3 does, but they changed, on the MC3, they changed the face just a little bit. Hopefully you'll get the microphone up and running in future episodes of the Old Tube Radio Network, because it's a real classy microphone. It's an Electro-Voice high-efficiency ceramic with a chrome-plated case if it's the original one, and typically from what we have experienced with the general radio telephones, the standard supplied stock microphones usually do quite well in the audio department. Over.
Yeah, they are different sounding microphones for sure. You know me, I love my Turner, so this plus 3 is going to do now. I'll share the other one. I don't know what should happen. Maybe I just got to loose wires up and thing. But at this time, it's no time to do anything about it. So, anyway, that's about it. This thing, as it says on the front there, it's 22-channel tunable VFO. And like you said, it has the same circuits that MC3 did. And as far as the radio, they changed them quite a bit. One is different, a lot different, this one. And then, of course, the 3 was different than this one, too, just the front. The insides were the same. Anyway, I'm glad you got it checked in, Dennis, and thanks.
I'm glad you brought it by for us to check in. Talking with Paul, and he is in North Fork, up in North Fork, California, about 35 or 40 miles north and east of where I'm at here in the flatlands of Fresno. 1959, sounding good. In 2018, the Master Control MC2 7-tube radio with the 5 crystal-controlled transmit channels as per the FCC, and the 22-channel tunable receiver. Thanks for getting us started off. Radio 1 at 8:44. Stemming up to the microphonium now is Jerry, SWL25, and not sure what you've got, but you've got Radio 2. Over.
Well, I'll tell you what I do have. I do not have a left butt muscle sore anymore. So anyway, I don't even know how the hell that happened. But yeah, I do. But anyway, 25, checking in on the sonar. Model G, boy, that's double conversion, that Scotty. This is the one that Scotty used to check in on the hill, clean it up, and I guess it's working pretty good. 8-channel crystal-controlled transmit with a VFO, and get a spot button to dial everything in, and tuning in on the receive, squelch volume. Pretty simple radio. I guess they were used a lot back in the day as mobiles, because they are also, you can run them on 12 volt or 120, whatever. So, and talking on a stock sonar, fat mic, hand mic, and so everything's pretty much stock here. Got a meter on it, and the meter's working. There's forward swing on it, and by golly, boy, I don't know what else to say about it, but thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
Thanks for bringing it by. Just putting up a few shots of the Sonar Model G. The one we just switched to is from Cliff's collection, SWL 135. You answered my question. I was going to talk to you about the audio, which is nice and loud and very good fidelity. The sonars, like the general radio telephones, really worked well with the stock microphones that came with them. Those manufacturers were really good at figuring out that if you want to sell some radios, they've got to sound good out of the box. General Radio Telephone did for sure, and so did Sonar, as you are proving with the stock microphone on the Model G, and of course with the dual conversion receiver back in the day. That was the thing you wanted. I guess super het was okay, but dual conversion was another step up from that. So hopefully that's making me sound good too.
Yeah, okay. One thing I forgot to mention, I guess you could order these things online or whatever. It wouldn't have been online. It would have been through mail order or whatever. But one of the options was to actually have an internal speaker added to the radio because that was an option. And this particular one has the speaker added to it, and the other one I have, which is slightly off frequency, that didn't come with an internal speaker. You have to use an external speaker. So I guess there were a lot of options in how to order it and however you want it. So anyway, okay, Dennis, thanks for checking it in. Back to you.
Thanks for bringing it by. A lot of the early radios had options. They were like automobiles. You know, in 1959, radio, heater, white wall tires. I know in some cases, turn signals and seatbelts weren't even, nobody's thinking about seatbelts then, or options. And so the radios were like that to keep the price affordable. And like you said, there weren't, well, if you wanted to get the radio, you could order it through catalogs, mail order, your local electronic stores. And then what eventually happened is the big department stores, Sears and Montgomery Ward's and Spiegel, Burstein Appleby, realized that here's another little thing we can sell, but we'd like to get our logo on it. So a lot of those places changed the name or put a different faceplate on them, or in the case of Sears, you used the E.F. Johnson, put their Sears Roebuck logo on, and sold radios that way because CB was the big thing. As it is here tonight on an old tube radio network. Really good sounding Sonar Model G. We'll take it back to you for one more transmission if you would for us, Jerry. And we appreciate you jumping into the Radio Shack tonight, firing up some old tube radios.
Hey, not a problem, Dennis. And, speaking of Sears, I mean, yeah, I bought shotguns and all kinds of stuff from the slicks when I was drag racing. And, they had everything. And obviously they didn't make everything, but they were kind of like the Amazon of the 60s. And speaking of radios, there was a Sears Road Talker that was very popular. It's not I believe it was a solid state radio, but it was a very popular radio back probably in the 70s or something. But 26 used to have one. I have no idea what happened to it, but it was interesting that every time that Jim would key up on that, SWL1 would identify that was a Sears Road Talker because it had a unique key up, I guess. So anyway, I'm just going back in time and sharing information. Anyway, good stuff, all good stuff. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
Yes, indeed. There are radios that have what we'll call a footprint when they key up, whether it's caused by the microphone you're using or the radio or how it keys up. So that's the thing. If you were running one of those radios, you had to be careful if you wanted to, what do they say? What do they say in CB radio? Put the hammer down on somebody and not say anything, because you wouldn't have to say anything. We know who you are from your radio footprint. Radio 2, the Sonar Model G. If you're at oldtuberadio.net right now, we've got an advertisement from the Sonar Radio Corporation, and I'm trying to see the address, 73, somewhere out of Brooklyn, New York, Brooklyn 7, New York, the Sonar Radio Corporation, $229.50 for the top-of-the-line Sonar at that time. The Old Tube Radio Network, getting close to the top of the hour. Jingle Singers want to tell us or tell you all about us, so we'll let them do that.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite slot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
Also want to say, watching into the video, hello to EDA 396, tuning in again out there in Nashville, Tennessee, waving a hand to all the old tube radio operators and radio enthusiasts out there watching and listening. Also, Mr. TJ, hello TJ, long-time listener and viewer of the Old Tube Radio Network. Checking in mobile to base from KLJ 2125 from, what was my call, KEO 8492. A nice early 70s call. We are looking for radios and any and all check-ins here at the Gold 2 Radio Network. Oh, also wanted to mention, some people talking about Art Bell. W6OBB was his ham call, passed away today. 72. There's a photo of Mr. Bell in the Pahrump Radio Shack. He had I believe he had two areas, and one was his radio, two-way amateur radio control, and then he also had the room where he would do Coast to Coast AM. And I was looking through my, let me grab it here. I was looking through my old ham radio call book to see when it was all done in pencil, so it's fading white. When I first logged in with Art and the group, and that was August 7th of 1987. We were on 3885. And I believe it was on the weekend, and it was late. Two reasons. 3885 was the AM window, so I was probably down there listening to the AM guys. And they went away, and there was some sideband going on. And in my notes, it was 2235 was the time, local time to 0139. So that was like 2.5 hours. And at that time, he was working at KDON. I think it was KDWN. It was a Las Vegas radio station. He was doing a talk show there locally at KDON, and he would go off the air and then show up when he was living in Las Vegas, which he was at the time, and immediately get on the radio. It was running a TS 830S, I think, 830 Sugar, and heard him on 3885, along with a group of guys that we talked to for many years. And it wasn't until a little bit later, when he went to the Coast AM and moved to Pahrump, that he really, I guess, became popular, and the ham bands guys wanted to talk with him. But that was before the Coast to Coast AM days, so I didn't realize it had been 30 years since we've made contact. And one thing about Art is that's the reason I have this PR40 microphone, because Art was also into the audio stuff with his, he used to run the ICOM Pro 3s, and he eventually ended up with the like one of the very first, he was beta testing for Yaesu, the FTDX 9000. He was talking to one of the Yaesu techs, and he got, I think it was serial number 12 or serial number 13, and he got the PR40 microphone. It sounded really good, and that's what prompted me to get this one so long ago. So thanks, Art, for that. Anyway, he really was a professional when it came to operating the radio, both on his professional and on his amateur side. Later in the, after 87, but much later, he had a lot of people that would come on frequency and actually jam him and just give him just all sorts of grief. I don't know why they would do that, but he was always professional and courteous, and I don't think I ever heard him say anything negative and bad on the amateur radio. He just kind of rolled with the punches. And so I hope that's something that we can do here at the Old Tube Radio Network. Anyway, Mr. Art Bell, W6OBB, thanks for your time on amateur radio. And, of course, A lot of you know him from Coast to Coast AM, the Old Tube Radio Network.
37. 45.
37 and 45. Paul, we will be right with you. Don't go away. Let's head over to SWL 37. Mr. Chris, how are you doing tonight?
I'm tired. Had a busy day. Went to Roding Park today for a birthday party. Went to the zoo, and oh my God, my feet and legs are killing me. I walked. Well, I had one of those Fitbits. Almost 9,000 steps today. I am tired. But anyway, upon that, I would like to check in on Old Tube Radio.
This is the place to be if you'd like to check in on Old Tube Radio. We call ourselves the Old Tube Radio Network for some reason. This could be why. Take a transmission.
Okay, well, you probably already know which one it is, but I want to check in with my general radio telephone. This Super MC11A, 24-channel version of this here, and we're running this here with a handheld stock microphone. Over.
Stock audio sounding good. We were talking about the stock audio from not only the general radio telephones, the sonars as well, doing a good job. Our first radio check-in of the evening was the general radio telephone Master Control MC2 from 1959, and I'm going to say maybe 10, 11, 12 years later. Here is the upgraded version of that Master Control 2, and this is the Super MC11A, the next to last in the versions of the Master Control radio. Sounding great for Radio 3. Give us a transmission.
Hey, Des, thank you. Well, I at least checked one in. I got a few things I need to do around here this evening, but I wanted to at least get this one checked in. Over.
Well, I'm glad you did. I know it is when you're out all day and you get back home and all the things that you were supposed to do are still waiting for you because no one else did them. So thanks for stopping into the Radio Shack, giving us a transmission. Radio 3 at 904, the general radio telephone, Super MC11A. Take another transmission, and thanks.
And like you say, all the things you need to do you didn't do earlier, well, there's a thing in there waiting for me called the rain locker. I got to go in there and scrub all the pollen from head to toe off of me. My sinuses are getting to me. So you know what I'm going to be doing. Scrubby, scrubby, rubby, dub, dub.
Yeah, having the same issue. We're getting the wind, not so much rain, and there's plenty of pollen in the air. So it must be spring here at the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks, Chris. Heading over to, let's head over to SWL 45, Paul, and see what he has pulled off the radio shelf for us tonight. Hello, Paul, over.
Yeah, Mr. in before Chris gets a chance to check his in. This is a PowerMate Gem by Gem Marine Products. Bugger.
Hey, it's like Jell-O, you know. There's always room for more. So let's see. Are you telling me you have the Gem Marine or the Gem Marine Gemtronics?
That's correct. It's the same one that Chris has. This is actually a radio is the same as a GTX 2300, and it's made in Japan by Panasonic, like most of the rest of them do. It's a real pretty radio, as Chris knows real well. All blue on the outside and brushed aluminum front on the thing with black. I think it is the same with black around it, and it's just a quality little radio.
It is, and what we'll do, we'll share the wealth. I have switched to a photo for those who may not be familiar with the Gem Marine Products G PowerMate, and the photo is from Chris's collection. So we'll hear your radio, but we'll see Chris's on the video, and I think he'll be happy for that. So if you don't get a chance to check in the radio, Chris, we're actually seeing yours as we listen to Paul on Radio 4. And Paul is right. There was the Panasonic chassis that rode along on the 23-channel radios and also was updated for the 40-channel radios with the AM plate modulation, and this is one of those. Sounding quite nice, over.
Well, this thing didn't get used very often, I'll tell you, because I tried to keep it off because it could. But doggone, I'm going to leave it on here. I like the radio. Pretty radio. I'm running a static TMD 107 power mic on the thing. And it's got an SRF meter that is switched by a rocker switch right below it. So you can switch it back and forth manually. It doesn't go into the dual range type switches, but it's a real neat looking thing. Real neat looking. Anyway, back to you.
Looking good in blue, a little bit of red and green depending on the RX or TX situation of the radio, and I noticed the one we're showing here is tuned to channel 11 in the window, as is yours. Doing a good job for Radio 4 tonight from G Powermate, Gem Marine Products, I should call it the G Powermate from Gem Marine Products. Sounding good. Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome. Now, this thing sold for $269.95 in 1975.
Oh, good. I didn't have a price point on mine here, but that I could believe.
37.
And 37. Let me make sure. I didn't get the time stamp on Paul's radio. We'll call it 905 Radio 4. Waving a hand to Steve, listening in from Westchester, Ohio. Just a note, this is what we call the Old Tube Radio Network. We have been doing this for over 33 years now, over the air, Channel 11. Back in the early days, just groups of us with our tube radios tuned down to Channel 11 because that's the channel, the frequency that everybody seemed to have. Getting away from the busyness, 30 years ago, the frequencies were busy, and on Saturday nights we would chat amongst ourselves and talk about radios. And, well, it sort of grew. A lot of people said, well, I have a tube radio. Let me bring it by and we'll talk about it, exchange information about microphones and crystals and tweaking and peaking and what have you. And as you can hear and see, it's still going strong thanks to our tube radio operators who take time out of their Saturday evening events to stop by and wave a hand and talk on their radios. Just like Mr. Chris. You've got Radio 5, Hello 37.
And it's going to be the same thing as, was that Paul that was on that radio?
That was Paul on the Gem Marine product, yes.
Well, this is Chris on the G Powermate Gem Marine Products, 23 channel tuber that goes to the dark. But the only difference is, I'm closer, well actually two, and I'm running the D104 amplified lollipop.
Yeah, you're probably 20 miles closer. Sounding good, as did Paul. And we're demonstrating, you guys are demonstrating that power microphones work quite nice on those. I would imagine with that radio and the plate modulation, a standard unamplified microphone would sound good as well. That chassis had a couple of options, one of which was, in the Robin series anyway, was a range boost or an audio boost. I see a couple of switches on the radio from the photo, but it doesn't look like they are the audio boosters. Am I correct?
You are correct. There's nothing up here for audio boosters. All I got is a switch for PACV and RX and DX one, the receive and transmit. And then you have your, what is that there? That's your squelch, which is also, you turn it all the way to the left, which puts it on standby, which you can warm up and run all your other radios and everything without worrying about, blowing anything up in that one there. And then, of course, the middle one's your volume control. And then the fine tune right there, the channel selectors, that's the way it is. And I'm sure Paul's is identical.
I think it is beautiful in blue. Don't need the audio boost, sounding good with the amplified microphonium on what was used for, I think the Robin T123B was also on the same chassis. Doing a good job here in 2018 for Radio 5 on our list tonight. And back-to-back Gem Marine products. Where else would you hear that except for on the Old Tube Radio Network? Give us a transmission. Thanks for bringing it by, Chris.
Well, I heard him mention my name. He said he had to do it before I got mine in there. So, darn, I had to be right behind you. I had to get back-to-back with him. One of these days, Paul, I know you probably got everything that I've got here, like the G Powermate, the Courier Royale, the Helicopters, and I know you got the General Radio. One of these days, we're going to do it back-to-back, all five of them.
That would keep Net Control busy for sure.
But we have to do radio, like tit for tat, get both of them the same, do them all, I'll do one and you'll do the other, or vice versa, whoever does it first, and try to jump in right behind whoever and do the same radio. It'd be nice if we had a bunch of people get out there and do the same thing.
25.
Well, that's what you want. You want to keep Net Control busy, because I don't want to be falling asleep. I don't think I've ever fallen asleep at the switch here. Remember, sometimes I didn't have much sleep. It was actually I didn't have much sleep after, when I had that 3 a.m. Gig after the net here. I did hear a 25, SWL 25, reminded that you do not have to have ever checked in before or have any SWL numbers. There is no secret handshake, password. If you find yourself sitting in front of, your Uncle Fred's old tube radio and it seems to work, and you're around channel 11, you can hear the Old Tube Radio Network. We encourage you to fire it up. And we'll check it in and talk about it, maybe have some information about it. Thanks, Chris. Hello, out in Madera Heights, SWL 25, we are listening for you.
Well, actually, Chris, by the way, Chris, you're sounding good tonight. Chris actually inspired me to warm up the Holocrafters Citizens phone CB3A, and there's got some modifications on it, but anyway, I thought as long as Chris wanted to hear Holocrafters, you're talking on a non-powered D104 lollipop, and boy, it does have, again, these radios had some options, VFO on the left and the S meter on the right, and we have them both here, and hopefully the VFO is close. Actually, no, that's wrong, because the VFO is received. This is Chris's transmit. So, anyway, A, B, C, D, E, F, I think, channel. But the meters bounce around all over the place. So, anyway, the CB3A Holocrafters Citizens Band Little Phone. Back to you.
I think their flagship from late 1962, 1963 Holocrafters, was it Bill Halligan and the gang there in 1963? This is back when Holocrafters was still producing these radios in the U.S. They eventually became a subsidiary of Northrop Aircraft Corporation and started importing things out of Japan. But this is the real deal. Sold for about $160 when you could get them new. And like the early general radio telephones, it ran on 7 tubes. I see that at oldtuberadio.com we have a schematic for that radio, so if you ever need to do any peeking and tweaking. And I'm a Holocrafters fan, but before we talk about that, back to you for another transmission. Audio sounding good.
Oh, okay. Well, you got the red light on the far left. When you key up, it comes on the air light, and meter's working, and by golly, one of the funnest things about checking this radio in was when you would actually go across the room and fire up the FM 1000, I believe, Holocrafters FM 1000, and anyway, I know that took a lot of effort to do that, but that was a lot of fun, Dennis, and of course, that was, 20 years ago or so. But anyway, yeah, I'm sure you still have that FM 1000 laying around there somewhere, probably covered up with all kinds of apparatus, But anyway, yeah, that's about it. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
37.
All right, 37. We've got you in the queue. Do not go away. You are correct, Jerry. I still have the FM 1000. It is over on the work table. I think in the early days, I actually had the radio set up over on the workbench. and it was really easy to run over there. And now it is behind a set of a full line of Yaesu FT102 that I'm trying to figure out. And because I'm doing the foot switch thing, I guess I could go into the lock to talk. But anyway, it is a chore to try and fire it up, but I will do that. Maybe what I might try to do is give it its own microphone on the audio board and have it on. And then I could just pot up the audio to show you that it works. And I'm hoping that it does. Sounding good on the Hallicrafters CB3A. I'm a fan of Hallicrafters. My very first transmission was done on a Hallicrafters CB11A. Believe it or not, Crazy Bob in his Facebook group of the pre-1977 vintage antique radios posted on eBay, or from eBay, a set of Hallicrafters CB11A radios, walkie-talkies. They were 100 milliwatt walkie-talkies. My dad had brought a whole slew of those home because he worked at Northrop Aircraft back in the 1960s. And that is how I started my CB radio career, with the CB11A. So if you're listening, Bob, Mr. Crazy Bob, thanks for posting that. You brought back some good memories. And no, I did not bid on it. If it's still there, maybe I will. Thanks, Jerry. Oh, and I wanted to mention that there were two options for this radio. If you're looking at the video, I'll put the mouse. There was a S-meter that was an option. We were talking about, like in the cars where white walls and heaters and radios were options in cars. They had options on this radio. One was the S-meter that fit in the little rectangular slot on the other side of the channel selector, and there was another slot. We're not showing it in this picture, but I think you also have it, Jerry, and that's the receive VFO. So those were things you could buy separately and plug in if you pulled the panels out. Before you go, Jerry, and I know Chris is ready to go with Radio 7. Do you have both those options? I noticed you said something about the S-meter, but do you also have the VFO in the slot?
Let's see here. Yes, I do. Or the VFO on the far left-hand side. Yes, I do.
All right, well, I'll have to get a shot of your radio, too. Cliff's is really, really nice, but it's missing that extra part, so maybe we'll have to get a photo of yours and have it in the queue here, so when you key up, we can show everybody the full complements CB3A with both options. Now, they were probably in the $15 to $30 range, so for another $60, you could have some cool stuff on a cool radio. Thanks for Radio 6, the Hallicrafters CB3A little phone. Reminder that you are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network here in Central California as we talk with our radio collectors sharing their collections, I guess, whatever they decide to fire up and warm up. And 37 has one now. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Dennis, again. Well, this is me again. I had to back somebody else up now. I had to back Jerry up this time. I want to kick in my Citizen's little phone, the Hallicrafters model CB3A, but we are running the original handheld carbon microphone, handheld.
And I do believe they did have that carbon microphone. It's kind of heavy. You can tell the carbon microphone nice and heavy. And it worked for Ma Bell. A lot of you remember dialing your telephone and holding that real heavy handset that had the carbon microphone element. I had people tell me that some of these microphones that did have the carbon element, like yours, Chris, you could actually substitute. You could unscrew the mouthpiece off your phone and take that carbon microphone element, and if you could get it to fit in the microphone, it would work quite nicely if your carbon granules were not too sharp. But you are Radio 7. Give us a transmission.
Question. Go ahead. Yeah, Chris, the connection on the radio for your Hallicrafters, is that a 2-pin or 4-pin? It is. I think it's a 2-pin. Hang on just a second. Let me unplug it, and I'll tell you real quick.
All right, he's going to... This is what I like about the Old Tube Radio Network, is we can find out things about radios, and if you have questions about your radios, you can ask as they check in. I'll put the picture back up. There is the microphone in question, and Chris will give us the answer. Is it a 2-pin or a 4-pin on the Hallicrafters CB3A little phone? Over.
It is a 2-pin
The microphone plug itself, the jack you hold in your hand to plug in, it is the female, where the other part is the male. So, but yes, it is a very small 2-pin plug.
And then answers my question. There's the same 2-pin configuration that goes to my Browning Mark III, which uses the banana mic, and this particular mic, if I needed to, in case it takes it down. But anyway, yeah, you have the same pin connection. So, you could use this FYI. You could use that Browning banana mic for 2-pin, any kind of 2-pin, and it works. So anyway, thanks for letting me ask a question and carry on. Back to you, Dennis.
All right, glad you had a question to ask. Glad we could get your asked question answered. The Hallicrafters CB3A little phone from 1963, as we mentioned, 7 tubes, a schematic available at oldtuberadio.com. What was the output tube? 12AQ5. In that there. Oh, also would go 12-volt DC with the proper cable. Run that mobile, of course. And back to you, Chris. Radio 7 gives another transmission, and thanks for giving us another tandem check in 2 Hallicrafters, 2 Gem Marine products, 2 General Radio telephones tonight. It's twin night, I guess. Go ahead.
Well, boy, we're doing tit for tat tonight. Now we need somebody to get in there and check in a Courier Royale, and then we got to get somebody to check in a Chris, and then see if I can back it up.
Well, Jim, SWL12, used to have 3 Courier Royales, and he set the record for checking in Courier Royales. This was probably 20 years ago, where he checked in all 3 of his in the matter of about 60 seconds. So I don't know how he had them. Must have had them on a coax switch and all ready to go. You got to be careful when you are checking in multiple radios on switches to make sure you don't have transmitters feeding into the receivers and do something nasty. But everybody does a good job. Speaking about doing a good job, our jingle singers will once again tell us the friendly place to be on a Saturday night.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
And we are looking for radio number 8.
Number 7.
Number 7. Hello, radio.
Oh, a late check-in, and might as well check in the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB.
That's a twofer for sure. Let me go to the big board and make sure that SWL7 is properly checked in, because we've done it on the analog page. And let's go over to the old tube radio sign-in sheet and make sure that radio 8 becomes the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, if I remember correctly.
That it would be, with the limited edition bicentennial gold-plated D104 Golden Eagle.
Maybe that is... I'm going to pull up a picture of Cliff's radio so everybody can see what a cool-looking Mark III transmitter and receiver looks like. I notice he also has what appears to be a golden Eagle type D104 microphone. So maybe that's similar to what you've got.
Yes, in fact, they're both exactly the same. So, yep, you're looking at the same type of microphone I'm using that he has there pictured. My Eagle's just slightly different, but they're really close.
And a lot of people wish they had those today. I can still see them occasionally selling for, the typical, you got to be kidding, old tube radio prices. 1972, when the Mark III was created from the many pieces of the Mark II, I guess kind of combined together, especially on the transmitter side, with the big transmitter getting the sideband all in one box. Prices ranged probably from the mid-600s to the mid-700s through its run up through 1976 when 40 channels took over. Built like a tank, well, I would say that doesn't look like a tank. It looks quite nice, but a lot of them still around. I guess when you pay, what would be $750 in today's money? When you pay thousands of dollars for radio, you tend to keep it, right?
Oh, there you go. And this was the first time I ever saw one. Was one of those radios that we could look at but not touch. Was for adults only. So now I have my own, and I can touch it and do whatever I want to with it.
And that's a good thing. I believe the first one I ever saw was in 1972. I drove up to the Bakersfield. They used to have a big CB Jamboree. Was it 73 or 72? It might have been 73. I don't remember. I know I was still living down there, so it had to be, could have been 1973. And that was one of the prizes, one of the raffle prizes, was a Browning Golden Eagle Mark III. Of course, I did not drive home, make the long drive home with the Mark III, or we probably would be using it right now. Thanks for Radio 8. Give us another transmission, and we've got you checked in on both papers here.
Thank you very much. Yeah, in fact, I was removing a sago palm tree, moving into another location earlier, so I need to go jump in the water closet. In fact, we were right across from your place. I noticed you had some cones out there. I hope that's not a bad situation.
Let's see. I've got multiple cones. One was could have been bad situation where you're digging up to find the main sewer line coming in, which I did, and since it was in that part of the yard, it was only like a 3-foot dig, where I found the root that was in there and eliminated that. I think I'm going to salt the thing up, and hopefully that will solve a years-long problem. And then there was another cone on, let's see, another 1950s installation of a, you're getting more information than you need here, installation of a sprinkler system that the shutoff valve was before the main line into the house. I had to dig down and find that. And then there was something else. But anyway, all the cones now, that's just to remind me to finish the projects and to make sure that Bozo Control doesn't fall in the hole.
Oh, no. Yeah, I've had to replace my water line, sewer line, water heater, washer, dryer, refrigerator. It's just been wonderful. One thing after another for the last year or so.
All right. Was this a big sago palm or something that was, 3 or 4 feet?
Yeah, actually a pretty decent sized one. It's about 3.5 feet tall, just the trunk.
Oh, wow. Okay, because sometimes the smaller one, those can be nasty if you're having to work around like a smaller one and the palm leaves, fronds, whatever you call them, or sticking in your face. They can be kind of nasty.
Yes, I have multiple puncture wounds from the darn thing, so just what you have to do when you mess with those things. I've got 5 in the backyard, a couple in the front, so yeah, they're everywhere.
All right. Sorry about that. I'm just trimming the ones I have. But there's some friends just where I'm at, just around the corner, that had some in the backyard, and I guess they call them the pups. Anyway, the little babies would come up all the time, and I've got a couple of those that have sprouted and worked, but they are darn slow growing, so that's why they're, I guess, so expensive, because to get something that's really tall takes a long time. All right, over to you for a transmission, and again, thanks for the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB.
Oh, and thank you, especially with all that you do over there, been keeping this thing going for quite some time, and I'm off to the shower.
Yeah, that's a popular thing. That's what happens when it's spring here in Central California and it's a sunny day and it's not totally windy. You start doing all those projects, or like me, you start setting the cones around all the holes you dug to figure out what is happening. But all the water leaks are gone. The Old Tube Radio Network, real radio's glowing in the dark. Hello to those who are watching us via Google, YouTube. Maybe you're watching the live broadcast as we're doing it on Saturday, April 14th. Maybe you're watching it in later times, but this is what we do every Saturday. If you'd like to either tune us in at 27085 direct in Central California, or at oldtuberadio.net, where we still have quite a few people listening, and hopefully we are grabbing some of your favorite radios if you have Facebook, I think you have the ability to leave comments for us, and if you have questions for our radio operators as they check in, I will try and relay those if I can remember to see them. In the meantime, the jingle singers tell us the latest place, the latest news from your favorite place.
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
Looking for radio number 9.
37.
25.
All right, we had a whole bunch. I've got, was it 45?
There's 45.
All right, 45, then 37, then 25. So you guys are getting us up into the triple digits tonight on radio check-ins, and that's a good thing. So I will try not to talk so much, and we'll let the two radios do the talking. Heading up to North Fork for Radio 9 at 9:33 Pacific Daylight Time. Hello, Paul.
Yeah, okay, hi there. I'm going to check in my general radio telephone, dual range MC3.
Dual range MC3. All right, chronologically, I know we had what I want to call the MC2. So I will go to the general radio telephone bin and see if we have a photo of something like that on the MC3, which should have been, you checked in the MC2, the radio that came after that. Back to you.
Okay, I think that's the one I'm transmitting on. I got the same microphone is on top of that one. It's an electric board, checkerboard, polished aluminum microphone. One thing, this is a crystal microphone, but it's got general radio telephone logo on the front. So I know it's a genuine radio. So does it sound all right for a crystal?
Sounds good for a crystal. The crystal microphoniums tended to have a lot more high frequencies, not a lot of lows, and yours is like that, but it's not bad because the crystals can go bad. I could tell if it was a bad element, but sounds like the element is still good. The carbon microphones, a little bit more mid-range, more like a telephone that some of those were. So your audio sounds good. In fact, out of all the radios you've been on tonight, this one may be the loudest and strongest. The dual range, and I do see the little dual range MC3 above the receiver dial there. Sounding good. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm glad I got a good microphone out of the three. I'm used to using the ceramic on thing, but this came, I guess it came with this crystal. I don't know. General radio telephones change all the time. This is manufactured in 1960, and I think this will be the third radio they made since 1959 to 1960. I think they probably made some more in 1960. I'll have to check my pour and see if it was made in 1960 also. But boy, they did experiment a lot. They got a real nice radio. Anyway, I think this has the tone control on it, babe. I'll try it if you want me to.
All right, see, try it right now and see if that makes me different. I'm thinking it could be for receive. So I'll give you the classic OTR check-in here for audio testing. Orange furniture, sizzling sausage, boom, boom, boom. And then we'll let you rotate the tone control on a transmission and see if it affects that. Over.
Okay, well, I talked on top of this thing. I don't know if we're doing it or not.
Well, I'm hearing a tone signal. Does that have the Tweety Bird? Because I'm actually hearing it on your transmission. It is working. I'm hearing the tone signal, though. Wonder if that got switched on. Over.
Yeah, we'll get you double with somebody there. I don't know who was on there. Back to you.
All right, can you hear me now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. OTR, over.
Okay. Does that tone control come through?
Yeah, that's the tone. I guess it's called a tone signal. I was thinking it was actually tone control that was adjusting the frequency response. But it is as we found on some of the MC series, the tone signal or tone control. And yeah, it's coming through quite well. Over.
Okay, yeah, you're correct. Tone what they say. I'm looking at it right now. Well, I had another 3 that has a different phone, the same little generated telephone. They put a crystal socket in the other 3. So you never know what you're going to get from these guys, but they make a heck of a radio. Back to you.
Yeah, let me point out for those watching the video that the switch that Paul is talking about is right underneath the S meter. It's called the tone signal. And they use that, let's see, the MC3. I don't think it was in your 2, so it was in the 3 and the 5. And then the FCC told them, you need to get rid of that, because a lot of people were turning that thing on and causing, what do they call it, malicious interference with the tone signal. They used to call it a Tweety bird. 1960, as Paul said, the manufacturer date, and I see it was still a 7-tube radio, but they updated some of the tubes from the MC2, I think, because I'm showing the output modulator as an EL84. In fact, there was a couple of EL84s in there.
Yeah, I believe you're exactly right. They do have the 84s in it. They did upgrade it, that's right. The generator tower upgrades everything. Okay, thanks, Dennis. Back to you.
And there's also a schematic at oldtuberadio.com. And I know we got a couple other radios that want to come in, so I'll be brief. But I really think the crew over there at General Radio Telephone in beautiful downtown Burbank would, on the weekends, go over to the tech control kitchen table and probably just plug in and out tubes and say, is this one better? Look at the scope. Is this any better? Check this out. Is it louder? Look at the scope again. And they were constantly updating and changing the tubes in that. It worked quite well, because the radios, as we have heard, just get louder and stronger and better as they go down the MC line. Radio number 9, the General Radio Telephone dual range MC3. Coming up next, we go to Chris, SWL 37. You've got Radio 10, over.
Okay, that sounds good. At this time here, I'm going to check in my Chris 23 Plus CB transceiver. 23 channel tuber that goes in the dark, as we all know. And this in here, I am also running this here with the original handheld stock microphone.
Nice job on the stock microphonium. Certainly don't need much more audio. I'm going to get a shot of the 23 Plus here, and I think we are back to the famous, or should I say infamous, Panasonic chassis. It always has the good audio no matter what you do to it. Take a transmission.
All right, well, it's working. That's the main part. And, you know, I just will go ahead and fire up my other one here, make it, check it in, just do it. Hell, I've sat here this long, just wrote to finish off the crew, huh? Now we just need somebody like Phil over there to check in his Chris, and then I'll check in the Royale, and then somebody can check one of those in. So I'll be back.
You will be back. Chris 23 Plus looking good and sounding good for Radio 10 on the Old Tube Radio Network, the AM plate modulated radio that we're all familiar with. There is an operator's manual at oldtuberadio.com, and unlike a lot of the radios we've been hearing tonight that work all on 7 tubes, they managed to figure out how to add a couple more 11-tube radio. More information on your Sam's Photofax, book 45, on page 89. The Old Tube Radio Network, real radios going in the dark. And let's head over to Jerry, who is in his Radio Shack tonight. You've got Radio 11. Hello, 25.
37 outside.
Hello, Dennis, and boy, I had a question when Paul was keying up on the transmitting on his radio when he did that security alert or whatever that was. And it sounded like there was other people coming in with it. I was just wondering if that was programmed so somebody was so anyway, real quickly, I'll make it. While I am watching reruns of the Three Stooges, let's see what episode am I on. What doesn't matter. Anyway, let me check in on the sonar FS3023 on the big handheld stock microphonium, 23 channel, and boy, the needle doesn't. I must have a stingy needle here. Maybe it's not working, but hopefully it's getting to you. And that's about it. Back to you, Dennis.
Sounding great. The sonar FS 3023. Bring up a picture of that. And yeah, I kind of blew it. He talked about a tone control there, and I was thinking he was going to be rotating some frequency control knob, and I've failed to look at my photo and notice that, yes, indeed, he's on one of the master control series that has the tone signal. And he turned it on, and then I did get confused. I thought I was hearing other stations, and the tone was on, and I realized, well, it's on because he told me that's what he was going to do. And it was working. Sounded good, well modulated. So I think his MC3 tone control is working well. Here's a picture of another very popular radio, the Sonar, and one reason is they have great receivers, and they always have great audio, very well built. And this is, I think, a mid-60s radio as well. So give us another transmission. It's doing nice here in OTR tonight. And again, my hat is off to our radio operators who take time out of their Saturday evenings. And I've been on the other side checking in radios before. Sometimes it's not quite so easy because you've got to change coaxes and change microphones and make sure, as we mentioned before, that you're not transmitting into some other radio that's on. You don't want to blow anything up. So it takes a little bit of work. But that and some other reasons, of course, is why we have been doing this for 33 years, because it's fun, everybody has a good time, and maybe we learn something. At least I learned something. I know I do. Thanks for Radio 11, the Sonar FS 3023. We are going over to Chris. Oh, I want to say hello to the mighty Timtron out there in the Pacific Northwest, tuning in, listening in to the old Tube Radio Network. Has a quite decent Radio Shack himself, multi-banded and frequencied. And we look forward to the upcoming solar cycle where we will definitely be hearing him floating in on the E-Skip. Radio 12, I believe, belongs to Mr. Chris. Hello, 37.
And yes, you are right, Dennis. This is my last radio for tonight. It's the last tuber I have anyway, so we're just going to do it this way. And I know you're probably already writing it down. We're checking in right now. My Courier Royale. It's the 23-channel tuber. It goes in dark. This here's the one with all the mysterious knobs all over for everything. You know, quieting, sensitivity, tone, volume, scrubs, you name it, and it's got it. And plus got the hidden knob in the back, or a hidden screw in the back, I should say. It's not really a knob, it's a screw for the ever-popular mic gain on this radio. And, of course, you know, you got your tuning load back there, stuff like that there. And this, anyway, this here on this Courier, I am running this here with the amplified D104 Lollipop. And I forgot this here's got all the blinking lights up on top of it, too. So, you know, it reminds me of airplane.
You're in the cockpit, right? Yeah, I just wondered when they were having the tech meeting, and they ran out of radio real estate on the front of the radio, designing it, and said, you know what, we're going to have to put a control in the back. We got lights, we got the big knob, the speaker. We really like the way it looks. S-meter, all these other knobs. I said, which one are we going to put back there? Now, who was it that said put the mic gain in the back of the radio? Maybe they figured everybody was going to be running either a stock microphone, right? Where you set the mic gain, you're okay. Or you're going to be running an amplified microphone, and then the control is on the microphone itself. So again, you set the mic gain. But it just seems like that would be something you want on the front. Not that you need it. Your mic gain is fine. I just would have liked to have been in that tech meeting when they decided to put that in the back of the radio. Courier Royale sounding good. Give us another transmission.
Well, you reminded me of Ronco there for a minute. Set it and forget it. But yeah, no, this has got the one in the back there. But no, it seems to work just fine. I see the blinking lights and the wiggle meter up here. It's wiggling, so I know it is transmitting because the lights are telling me so also.
It's transmitting well. Not a problem there. Another 11-tube radio, 11-tube complements. Might have been Courier's one of their last for all tubes. Sam's CB14 is where you can find out information. There's a service manual at oldtuberadio.com. Looks like on a PDF file you could take a look at. And the real prize on that radio is something that we don't particularly notice here, but you would notice more, I would think, on your receivers, the Collins 6 kilohertz mechanical filter, which anybody who's familiar with the Collins, R390 receivers that are chock full of those mechanical filters, you know, that would be a good thing to have. Sounding good. Thanks for Radio 12 tonight, Chris. You did good again, even though, so if you need to run off and go away, you've definitely entered it.
Well, it's shower time. I've got to get in there, man. My sinuses are killing me. Well, you know, like I said, I've been out to Roding Park all day long with families and everything. You know, I did a lot of walking and smelled a lot of different nasty smells from different animals. It's a beautiful place to go if you like seeing it. And if nobody's gone, you have to go see the new African safari thing. I don't know how they fit that thing in that zoo. That is so huge. I used to work there back in the 70s at the zoo in the Roding Park right there. I don't know how. I'm trying to figure out where did they put that at. Of course, I come in from the olive side going in there, but that thing is humongous. I mean, it's like looking inside of a Fresno State football field just for that thing. Maybe, you know, I'd say every bit as big as that. It's huge. And, you know, of course, the impalas run when the rhino gets too close to them.
And Breaker acknowledged on the Old Tube Radio Network. Well, in the 40 years since you worked there, there has been a couple of tax measures. I don't remember what they are, like Measure A or Measure B or Measure 7 or something like that, where there have been some half-cent tax, local tax monies going into the zoo to do stuff like that. And I think they've actually taken chunks out of the park as well to build in. So that is actually our tax dollars at work. So when you see what's happening at the zoo, you can say, well, maybe sometimes those measures, they take extra money. We can actually see that it's spent on something, whether it's a rhino or whatever. We might need some school books somewhere too, but that's a different story. Radio 12 sounding good on the Courier Royale, and we have a breaking station. So head off to the showers, Chris. You've done a good job. Who is the breaking station for OTR?
Okay, but I did want to say one thing. There was literally thousands of people there. Of course, they had a special day today. All right, thank you, Dennis. I'm out, and go for it.
Yeah, sometimes they have a pancake breakfast and all that. Spending time at the zoo. Thanks, Chris. Who is the breaking station for OTR? We are listening.
Pancake donut.
Try it again, station. The station breaking for OTR. Try it again, please. Now, I heard your transmission, but I didn't get all of the audio. I'm listening. I can hear you. I actually heard it the best on the last couple of words. You're in my noise, and the audio is restricted bandwidth. Is there any other stations that are copying better than I am? Over.
I can hear him.
Oh, okay. Station, take another transmission with your information, and if we need, we'll get a relay. But I appreciate you hanging in with us there. Go ahead.
T23 T-Berry.
All right, you've got a T-Berry 23 or a T23. The audio sounds, at least what I'm hearing, sounds restricted, like there might be a bad element on the microphone, but it's down in my noise, so I hesitate to give you a bad audio report when I'm not copying as well. Chris, what did you hear? Back to you, Chris.
You did say you was on a T-Berry 23, right? They probably changed the microphones. He said something about changing microphones.
Okay, we'll try that. I would think that would be a good place to start, because it seems to have plenty of audio punch. Just the restricted audio is hard for me when it's in the noise level on the possible, or do we say alleged T-Berry?
There it is.
Okay, and that is you, Harvey. Boy, I couldn't even tell that was you. I hear you now. I don't know if you changed radios or microphones or whatever, but I hear you over. Okay. Again, I wasn't sure if you switched radios. It almost sounds like it's flat topping a little bit, like it's either got a limiter or a compressor or something on your peaks. It's bringing the levels back down. But we'll listen here and find out if we can get the radio. But believe it or not, you're Radio 13. Lucky Radio 13 on a Saturday the 14th, in honor of Friday the 13th. It figures that our 13th radio, we might have just a slight bit of issues, but Harvey is working it out. OTR is listening for Radio 13. All right, did you stop transmitting? I was trying to zero beat your frequency. Maybe I'm just off frequency from where you're at. Take another transmission. All right, no, you're right on frequency. That radio is right on frequency. But whenever you there's something with the audio where you have no low frequencies and no mid-range. It's all kind of high frequencies, which is throwing me off because of being in the noise. So let's establish give us the radio model again, over. T-Berry Model T, I heard that just fine. And the other question would be 23 channels or 40 channels? Great. So what I will do, now that I have copied the information correctly, is give us a shot of the T-Berry T, Model T, 23-channel version, and it looks as though we are, again, looking at the infamous Panasonic chassis here. So I'm a little concerned that the audio is sounding the way it is, because typically those, as you know, are pretty powerhouse when it comes to audio. It's a pretty radio, though. We'll have to admit that. And that S meter reminds me of the meter I had that I stared at for many a night on my first big 5-watt radio, which was the Navajo, the first realistic Navajo, solid state. I think it was a TRC 23 or 23A, the one that did not have the Delta tune on it. But boy, that meter sure looks familiar. And I do believe those radios were also imported from Japan for Radio Shack, so it might have been the stock S-meter at the time. Radio 13 T-Berry Model T to the 23 channel, and if you're around Harvey, we will be listening, but what I will do, let's defer to the Jingle Singers. They'll tell us a little bit of magic, and if you'd like to check in another radio, we'll be back in about 20 seconds.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic
Old Tube Radio.
for you.
I can hear you over. I can hear you. Try it. It's still weak, but I'm hearing. Okay, don't you hate when that happens. This microphone has a little bit more punch in the mid-range, which is helpful for where your signal is. The first selection you had there was just pretty rough, though. This is getting the what do they used to say? Getting the job done a little bit better. Over. And the Old Tube Radio Network listening. It's coming up to our bewitching hour here, but plenty of space to get your shortwave listener ID or your radio checked in as we're counting them out shortly.
Break OTR.
The break OTR. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, 50 checking in. Go to Lafayette, Comstat 25B. And I've had this one on before. This is Frankenstein. It's got the 40 channel, looks like a Cobra 40 channel channel indicator on it.
Well, that is a smooth talking radio. I remember that audio. Lafayette Comstat 25B. I will pull up. No, I know we have a shot of that one to show people what you're talking on, what sounds so good, and in the Frankenstein mode. Yeah, because that should be, or let's say it was intended to be or sold as a 23-channel radio. So it sounds like there has been some work in the laboratory on that one.
Yeah, the doctor has a screwdriver in this one for sure. We first got it into the shop, and I started looking at it, and I went, what the heck did they do to this thing? And I pulled the lid and went, okay.
Well, it sure sounds like it's doing the channel 11 thing okay, and the audio is just really nice. You probably told me before, but for anybody who's out there listening and that might have the Comstat 25B and would like to maybe know the secret to the nice audio, what microphone are you running?
Amplified D104.
An amplified D104 properly set so that it's not bringing in all sorts of background noise. I'm sure you're probably not 15 or 20 feet away from the microphone, but doing a good job. So sometimes it's microphone technique, a cool radio, and a microphone that you know that works. Lafayette Comstat 25B is Radio 14. We've got you checked in on the SWL side. We've got you checked in on the Tube Radio side. And it's doing a good thing.
Well, good deal. 2 steps in a cloud of dust. I'm going to get out of here.
All right, thanks for stopping by. And hello, Harvey. Are you trying another microphonium? Over? I can hear that one. Over. Oh, yeah, the crimping or the center conductor. Yeah, just be careful. Keep an eye on, sometimes you can tell when you're transmitting, if your match goes up, you'll see the S meter, the RF meter pin, or the modulation light. Something weird will happen, so keep an eye on that. But it is sounding good, and we'll make it Radio 15 if we can get another transmission out of it, and you can tell me what it is. Over.
Roger, the car dephone.
Wow, haven't heard one of those in a while. A radio we used to get checking in quite a lot in the late 80s. There were a lot of stations that had the car, and it's KAAR, the D-phone, and there should be, I think there's a couple of model numbers. Typically it was TR something, like a TR333, I believe.
TR326, the left-hand mic on it, takes the two-pin like the Browning, so you can put a Browning mic on it. It's for sale also. I'll be working next week, so in 2 weeks I'll have all these up and running the way they should be. I got to fix my coax.
Okay, do the coax fix. Radio 15, and here's a picture, not of that particular radio, but of the car series, the car D-phone series. Just to confirm we've got the right one up, that is the 4-channel radio. Over.
No, this is the, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah.
All right, that's the one that came in with my photo for the 326. We're showing probably what is the stock microphone. I see that it's hardwired into the radio. It's sort of a gray that matches the front cabinet color. Not sure what you're running, but this radio has a better signal, a little bit better signal than the prior radio, and the audio is not too bad. Over.
Roger. Same old meter shows same signal. This is about a little more forward swing. I have not tuned this for my station, and I have not tuned the other one. They were working, and then my coax pulled apart. I've got one more to check in, but it's a different coax setup, and I'll be back in 2 weeks. I'll have these two and 4 others.
Okay, and just a note, and I think you said you're going to check in on another radio, which I think I know what that is. So let me, I'll have you answer the questions on that next check-in, because we will probably hear you better. Radio 15 is your, and this radio sounds good. I don't think you have to do anything to this. I didn't get a frequency check, but I know you are well aware of where it might be. But the audio and the signal, everything doing fine for the type of radio that it is. The car TR326. I'll let you work on the coax here while I'm counting and mounting for your next radio, the Old Tube Radio Network listening.
Yeah. This is a different coax setup. I have to find another sub-beezer coax plug in and string it out over the radio. Then I'll be okay. But the coax I use on the test radios has a quick disconnect that's soldered on. So, and it's pulled apart, so you have to press in to get it to connect. But I did that with the T-Berry. It did not help. So I just probably have to tune the T-Berry. And I just didn't have time.
Yeah, the signal was certainly low. I bet you were less than 2 watts or something. And the audio just, that had an issue. And I'm not sure if we figured out with the microphone or not. Just was really restricted in the frequency response, especially in the lows and mids. So it made it a little bit of a rough copy. The car D-phone sounding good. Your radio you're on now sounding good. I think it's the Browning. It should be the Browning. And let me know. And then reiterate, when you said you'll be back in a couple of weeks, but reiterate what you have and what will be for sale, because we can hear you a lot better now. Over.
Roger. Let's see. Once I fix the coax and get a decent mic on it, the T-Berry Model T, the car D-phone, let's see what else. A Webster bandstander, a Knight 2590, I think it is. It's about a 6 or 7 channel radio. The Webster bandstander is also something similar to that. And then the Demco Travelier, 23 channel off-home radio with the matching power supply. I didn't have a chance to get that over here, but it'll be here in 2 weeks, and I'll check them all in, and they're all for sale. The more obscure, the better, eh, Herb?
Good. For sale's a good thing. So if you're listening in as an SWL and you're thinking, oh, I'd like to start my collection of one to get on this list, right? To get on the Tube Radio list, Harvey will have some items for you. Kind of presenting them, teasing us with them this week, and he's going to do some more adjusting, getting them ready for that. So the good. We will be looking forward to that. Radio 16 is your Browning. I just want to confirm you are on the R68, T68 right now?
Yeah, that ought to tell you.
Yeah, with the good coax, sounding good. All right, well, take your time, fix the coax, and we will be awaiting the transmissions of those particular radios. All sounding good, all real classic stuff. Some of them actually a little bit on the rare side, but a great way to start a collection and have something that you can display, and people will ask you, what the heck is that thing?
You betcha. Okay, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go change a piece of coax and see if I can find something that'll work here. Okay, in 2 weeks I'll be back. I'm going to work next week. And then I should have all of them ready. Okay, we will be back in 2 weeks. Thank you, Dennis.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
And OTR is counting and amounting. Last chance for check-ins on the Old Tube Radio Network. And taking us up on that last chance, Mr. Cobra there, SWL 13. Hello, Mike. Got you checked in. Thanks for waving a hand just in time.
OTR. Channel 11.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us.
Old Tube Radio.
And be modern.
Modern as you can be on your 1959 Master Control, the Old Tube Radio Network. Wrapping it up here tonight. Checking the radio list, did pretty good. Also, likewise, on the SWL list. Still hearing a little bit of rough audio on the headphoniums here, so apologies if the audio wasn't quite where it should be tonight. That's what happens, like Harvey found out. You move coax and things around, and things happen. That's what I did tonight. I was trying to did I have them here? I don't have them. I was checking out a new headset microphone combination into the mic preamp. So I was moving things around. I went back to the Heil microphone. I was going to run that tonight, and I thought, no. Tonight, I should definitely, in honor of W6OBB, in honor of Art Bell, who basically sold me on the PR40s when he was running them long ago on his, what was he using then? I think it was the ICOM Pro 3, and sounding really good. Back when you could get them for under $200. So this is why I wanted to keep the PR40 going tonight. Checking in tonight, we had 9 SWLs. Oh, wait a minute. They're tapping on the glass saying you can't read, you can't do the totals without the fanfare.
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR total.
All right, see what happens when it gets late. Net control kind of messes up here. All right, now they can go home. See you later, Mr. Announcer, the Jingle Singers, and the orchestra. Thanks for all your work here at the Old Tube Radio Network. 9 check-ins on page 1, 16 on page 2, 14 on page 3, and 16 on page 4 for a total of 45. No, I'm sorry, 55. Can't add either. I know it's getting late. 55 SWL check-ins tonight. We are in week 7, so next week is the last week of this 8-week roster. I don't see that we added any new people to the list, so no updates necessary. And in an evening where we did good on the radios, we had a lot of twofers, 2 Hallicrafters, 2 General Radio telephones. Actually, we had 3 General Radio telephones. They were the most heard manufacturer, the General Radio telephones tonight. 2 Brownings, 2 Gem Marine products. Let's read down the list. Tell you what we had. Starting off, radio number 1, the General Radio telephone from 1959, the Master Control MC2. Thanks, Paul, for that. Jerry on his Sonar Model G. I'm glad you're getting the new Radio Shack wired in there, because that's good for us. That's kind of selfish here, but we like when you can check in all the radios that you can. Sonar Model G, radio number 2. Radio 3 was the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A from Chris. Followed that, Radio 4, Paul on his Gem Marine Products G Power Mate, and Chris followed that with his Gem Marine Products G Power Mate for Radio 5. Radio 6, the Hallicrafters CB3A Little Phone from Jerry. Then Chris followed that with his Hallicrafters CB3A Little Phone from 1963. Radio 8, Mr. Ed on the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Thanks for sneaking in and getting the radio in. I know it was a long day for a lot of people. We had a nice spring day, a lot of people out doing things. Plus, there was a lot of happenings going on in the Central Valley, a lot of car shows, fun stuff, just like the old Tube Radio Network here on Saturday nights. Radio number 9 was the General Radio Telephone Dual Range MC3 checking in. I think that's the one that put the Generals over the top tonight. Radio 10, the Chris 23 Plus. Thanks, Chris, for that one. Jerry on his Sonar FS3023, our second Sonar, the Courier Royale. Radio 12 from Chris. Harvey was on the T-Berry T23 checking it out. I think that will make another appearance in a couple of weeks and probably sound a bit better, and possibly, I think he said, be for sale. Monkey's Uncle beaconing down SWL50 on the very smooth-sounding Lafayette Comstat 25B. Radio 15, Harvey on the Car D phone, TR326, sounding really good, and that radio will also be for sale with some others. And, of course, the classic Mark None, right? The R68, T68, the first Eagle, the first Golden Eagle from Browning. I want to thank everybody for participating tonight, whether you were an SWL that checked in, an SWL that waved a hand at oldtuberadio.net, or maybe an SWL listening from who knows where, but being anonymous, but yet great. Here on the Old Tube Radio Network, thanks for our Tube Radio operators checking in, taking time out of their evening. And thanks for all of you for keeping us on the air here for the last 33 years. The Old Tube Radio Network, Central California, 27085. We will do this again next Saturday, starting at 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And thanks to Frodex and SearchLawrence.com that keep our digital side and the Nixie tubes glowing. Looks like they're all working properly and keeping great time. So my hat's off to Frodex and the crew over there. 73, everybody. We will catch you next time on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Good night. Good night.
All right, sounding good. And sorry about the coax caper, but it did work.
Yeah, I got a new piece of coax on it. Not quite the one I want to use, but now it screws on there. I'm on the TR27C
Get you later on the video. We'll talk to you next time.